Good evening, gentlemen, and a few of you ladies that may be listening. This is Spiritual Art of War, back at it again with another episode. And, this time we're going to talk about the decline in family, okay? Basically throughout the Western world, but primarily in the United States. The decline of family is really a sign of a complete collapse of civilization. Because a civilization, the building block, the motivation behind a civilization is family. Okay, it's basically preservation of culture, preservation of legacy, and the way that you're going to preserve both culture and legacy, which includes religion, meaning the passing down of the belief of a particular spiritual system, is through family. Okay, and when you are in your particular generation, your job is to basically sustain those things and then pass down that to the next generation, because you're not going to be here forever. Okay, unless you're talking about having eternal life from a biblical perspective. That's when one would be living forever. But if you're not living forever, then the point is to sustain, to acquire, and then pass down your legacy. Okay, and in many instances, there's people that won't be able to do that, because either they die prematurely or they take a different path where they do not maybe produce children, both men or women, or maybe they're even infertile, so they're incapable of doing so. But even then, even amongst those set of people, they get to still enjoy those things while they're living. Okay, and they also are helping maintain or even teach these things. Okay, but they may not pass down any particular thing. Maybe they pass down things to a friend, somebody that was understudy, or maybe they pass down things to a relative of theirs, right? In regards to those that are childless. Now, the thing with society collapsing from a family standpoint, we have to understand this when it comes to the United States of America. And this is one of the things that these white wing nationalists do not want to talk about, is the fact that their elites purposely destroyed the family. And they started with black people. They started with native people, okay, the native peoples of the Americas, because what they did is they broke away family units, okay? And then they did a whole policy where they said, kill the Indian, save the man. Essentially, that if you if you take the Indian man away from what he knows, the Native American, and you give him the Western ideals, then you're saving the man, because you're saving you're making him civil. But here's the interesting thing. These people, these colonizers that came out of Europe and went around the whole world saying that they were the civilized ones, they are the very people. They are the very people that destroyed what it means to be a family. They destroyed a man's authority in the home. They destroyed patriarchy. They are the ones that actually made it to where women were quote unquote independent. They gave them feminism. They empowered women. And then by doing so, they gave her power over her husband, or away from her husband, giving her autonomy and giving her power over the children, which allows them to then go and indoctrinate the kids that she has access to without the husband. And here we are. They destroyed family. They destroyed the exact building blocks of civilization. The European man, the Westerner, the colonizer, the enlightened one. How enlightened are you? How enlightened can you say you are, and at the same time you're destroying the actual building block of civilizations? They did this stuff on purpose. They're elites. And the fact is that white nationalists, they punch down. They don't punch up. That's why they're making immigrants, they're making black people that their forefathers enslaved and did all manner of atrocities. Every single last tool of oppression, they used it on black people. But you do not want to go look up to your rulers, the bankers, the ones that control multimedia, corporations. They want to talk about the Jews, But how come y'all never talk about those that control industries? Huh? The ones that created the war machines, the military industrial complex, the one that control the prison industrial complex. All of y'all are all part of it. All of your elites control all these things. And then you got your everyday so-called white bread American who will then punch down on other oppressed groups that he has way more power over than. Because you're so scared to punch up. Because you know what they'll do to you. You know what they'll do to you if you try and punch up. You know they can just get rid of you, your whole family. They can desecrate your name. You've seen what they've done to different people. You saw what they did to Webb, the man that exposed the government bringing drugs into the black community. They took him out. You saw what they did. The guy that rode Behold a Pale Horse. They took him out too. He exposed it. They took him out. A lot of y'all have tried to fight against the higher elites, and they got rid of you. And instead of y'all coming together like Voltron to fight against them, you know where they be at. Y'all be in the same country clubs as them. Y'all be in the same universities as some of their children. Y'all be in the same jobs as mid-level managements and regional managers. Okay? And then some of y'all that are at the bottom, the one that they deemed as white trash, y'all know damn well that a black person in Chicago, on the west side or south side of Chicago, has no power to change those things. But you'll point at what's going on in their neck of the woods because you're too scared to punch up. This is just the reality. Y'all are cowards. And this is what cowards do. I've seen this. I've actually studied various groups that are just like this, or various countries. And whenever there's a crisis, or whenever there's issues in that country, they get very scared to punch up. Oh, they get terrified. They'll go to the third, fourth class citizens of that country and blame them for the issues in that country, because they'll be too scared to get at the dominant people. This is very common with groups that are in that second tier in a society that are too scared to challenge that first tier, so they'll just punch down. They'll deflect the blame on those instead of actually saying we got to take down or get rid of the people that are controlling these systems. You know why? Because at the end of the day, you look at your elites as something that you aspire to be. You want to have the ability to go and own remote islands and then do atrocities, commit atrocities to, those that are in these places, these native places. You want to be the person that's going to, purchase humans like livestock for your benefit. That's why a lot of these people, their view of the future, especially these white nationalists, is to subjugate another group of people. Because let's be realistic. There's no such thing as equality. There's no such thing as equality. Societies can never be fragmented on the equality. You're either going to decide that you're going to allow people to have their liberty, or you're going to decide to be an oppressor. And the thing about it is, these people, these white nationalists and these right-wing conservatives, they don't want that. The left is all about basically causing confusion. The left is all about destroying what it means to even be a man and woman. Because once they destroyed family, they said, look, we done broke the family up so much, we could go and now destroy people's gender identities. You couldn't do that like 60 years ago. Because it's a methodical approach. And the methodical approach of the left is still done by white elites on the left. This is just the reality. And this is the stuff that they don't want to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you this, most black people are freaking clueless as to how we got to this point as a people. We're completely clueless. I mean, people are trying to rewrite history because they're wondering, now you got people out there that are saying that they're the natives of the Americas. because they're trying to get away from the ugly history because they're so confused, okay, about what really went down. Everything was documented. The white man documents everything, okay? Even if they lie, that's why you got guys like Charlie Kirk. You could dispel a lot of his stuff just through their information that they took down. I mean, Charlie Kirk he's not gonna go out of his way and say he ain't gonna bring up Gloria Steinem going into the black community, but we got that stuff because they documented it. You know, they're not gonna talk about the school lunch programs at the Black Panthers. They're gonna talk about how all these leaders within the black community getting killed in the '60s or jailed in prison. Some of them had to get away. They had to look for other places like Assata Shakur, going to like places like Cuba, you know. So they know this is all documented stuff, but you know, they'll play dumb in front of you and punch down all day. Unfortunately, that's just way it is. And so where we're at now is we're at a point of fragility for the white community. And there's some of those that see a future differently. And remember that when you get a guy like Charlie Kirk and some of these right-wing influencers, they are touching on a true problem that is clearly observable when you talk to your average man of, you know, the white race, so to speak, like especially the Gen Z that doesn't really see a future in America, and they're kind of feeling that their voices is not heard, okay? But that doesn't mean that there wasn't another group of men that didn't have their voices heard. It's very clear who they were, okay? Particularly Native American youth and Black American youth. And then to another degree or a lesser degree, Hispanic American youth, which that could even vary in of itself because of immigration and how many generations one has been here. So when you look at what's going on, these are easily fixable problems. But the fact is that the elites that are white, okay, they could do anything. They could go pick Obama and make you think he has power. Even the people on the right, they know. White nationalists know that Obama doesn't have real power. Because when you actually look at the levers of power, if you believe a black man can truly have power in this country, every black person that is rich, their money is actually tied to some other white-controlled entity. I don't care what it is. You can look at anyone. I don't care if they're businessmen. You got Robert Smith, you got all these people. That still had even BET in its creation, its money still had to be tied to white corporations for advertisements. When you watch BET even back in the 90s, you're going to see Cadillac, you're going to see Buick running ads, you're going to see McDonald's, you're going to see Burger King, you're going to see all the food commercials for example, Kellogg's, okay, Mars Corporation. They're the ones that Bob Johnson, even when he became a billionaire by owning BET, he started to go to cable companies and say, hey, we can, make us a cable channel on your guide plan. He still had to get his money through these other big corporations to make him have a net worth of over $1 billion. Same thing with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, yeah, he's a billionaire, but he still got to go. He got his money through a contract that he made with Nike. That's how he got his money. So a lot of the money, a lot of the levers of controlling of industries, corporations, means of production, they're still controlled by people that are above them. Look at how quickly Kanye West lost his billionaire status. These people are not independent all the way. Oprah, I think that was through Discovery, own network was through. When she became a billionaire through CBS as well, when she had the Oprah Winfrey Show. So when you really look at this, you got to go even higher up than the influence that people see with their own eyes. All these record labels, who are they owned by? This is the stuff that Michael Jackson and, Prince were talking about. They were battling people that were higher up that were white. These people, they'll get envious and seeing a guy like a LeBron James like, oh, he's a billionaire. How? How did he become a billionaire? He said to go through these people that own all these things. And this also makes it to where you can only speak a certain way in public because you know who controls what. You know who controls the levers. You know who can turn your water off. Okay? You know you can't bite the hand that feeds you. There's levels to this. But these white nationalists, they'll deflect, they'll deny, they'll act as if that's not what's really going on, and they'll punch down. But the fact is that what's going to happen in the very end, when all this fails, it's going to be known that it was these people, the European, the Westerner, the colonizer. It's going to be known that they were the destroyers of civilizations. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.